What is up, guys? Basic Battles here today, and there was a UFC card this weekend. UFC in Vancouver, Canada. I think it was Vancouver. I could be wrong. Please tell me if I'm wrong. And a lot of things happened. A lot of bad reffing. A couple of contenders came out of it. Canada had a good night. A couple more finishes than I expected. And more importantly, we have a new top 5 in the middleweight division. Brendan Allen finally gets his signature win after really trying a lot. Brendan Allen's in the top 5 in the middleweight division. I just think that's a little funny. No offense to Allen. He had a great performance, and especially on short notice. And he's got a real interesting future ahead of him. And I'm here to talk about what is next for the middleweight division. Obviously, our champion, Khamzat Chimaev, we might have a problem there. See, Khamzat has expressed his interest in moving up to light heavyweight and fighting new light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira because he's quote-unquote knows he could beat him. And obviously we had a number 1 contender fight in September or August, I believe. I think it was September, where Nasruddin Imavov beat Kyle Bahayo by unanimous decision, solidifying his spot as the number 1 contender. So I don't believe it is in the middleweight division's best interest if Khamzat forgoes that to move up for another belt, especially considering he has let's say about 2 ranked wins at middleweight. Obviously, being our champion, what are you going to do? But that is a fact. He has only beaten Robert Whittaker and Dricus du Plessis. So I think it would be in his interest to keep dominating the future middleweights. I think there's clear path to victory for him against Nasruddin Imavov and obviously Dricus du Plessis, who's still the number 1 contender. And he also beat Izzy and Strickland. So, not that anyone would really want to see that fight again, but I don't see why Khamzat wouldn't just do it. Obviously, Dricus du Plessis probably tonight, he's not going to get that rematch against Khamzat, understandably, but him against Imavov or another contender, Kyle gets a win, or, like we just saw last night, Brendan Allen get a win. And also, there's a contender that pulled out of that fight, Fluffy Hernandez, who more than likely would have beaten Reinier de Ridder as well, in my opinion. But, you never know. RDR himself, I think a couple of people thought that he would be next for Khamzat Chimaev after he beat Robert Whittaker. Considering Khamzat apparently wanted a quick turnaround after dominating Dricus. So obviously, he is out now of the title picture. For now, he fights often. A lot of things can change in a year. But what's next for Brendan Allen? He dominated Reinier de Ridder, made him put on the stool, had a great performance, did it all on short notice, and now he's in the top 5. I think what's next for him, because, he did already lose to Anthony Hernandez. He did already lose to Nasruddin Imavov, so they should both be ahead of him. Lost fairly recently to him. And had a close competitive fight with Chris Curtis recently. But he is on 2 straight wins. He just beat a top 5 opponent dominantly. So I think for what's next for him, I think he should fight Dricus du Plessis. Him versus Dricus makes sense to me. That's him getting a title eliminator shot against the number 1 contender instantly. I think for Fluffy, since he pulled out against RDR, I think next for him should be Sean Strickland. I think that's a good fight for him. I think he's also in the top 3 right now. So give him a fight up for all his winning, but don't give him, the number 1 guy. I think rematches are honestly, I'm not too interested in any rematches in the middleweight division unless it's Israel Adesanya. I think him versus Strickland too, since they're both coming off losses, not really near the title picture, could be fun. Or him versus Paulo Costa, since they have beef, and the UFC loves to make Paulo fight up, and Izzy really doesn't have any avenue to the title shot right now. He got finished against Dricus, he lost dominantly against Strickland, and I don't think anyone really... And he also got finished against Imavov. So I don't think there's really any path to him. I think just a bunch of fun fights, like a Costa or Strickland would be fun. Boost a pay-per-view here or there. With it. He could be on the first Paramount card. But anyways, as for Khamzat, I think the only fight that he should take right now is Nasruddin Imavov. I think that's a perfect first. He can be on any card at the beginning of the year, honestly. I see no reason why he can't evolve to number 1 contender. It makes sense. He worked hard for it. I think he should have gotten it even before, I thought he had a better resume than, he obviously objectively had a better resume than Khamzat coming into the, middleweight title shot. Finishing Izzy is better than finishing Whitaker. It's just a fact. Whether you want to argue semantics or how washed one fighter is or another, that's just my opinion. But it's not how it played out. So the fights that I think should be made in the middleweight division, I just heard. RDR, I don't know who he should fight, honestly. I feel like a fight up for him is not in the cards anymore. Him versus Fluffy was already a title eliminator, pretty much. I don't know. I really don't. If Izzy still wants to be a contender, maybe him versus Izzy. Him versus Strickland, maybe. Could be interesting. But again, like I just said, fighting up, I don't think is in the cards for him. So I honestly just have no idea what would be next for him. I'll have to take a look at the middleweight division. I should have planned this out before, but I had 3 lined up. I had DDP versus Brendan Allen. I think is a good fight. That could headline a nice fight night here or there, like a crowd fight night. And Fluffy versus Sean Strickland, I think, works for both of them. I think it only really works because I heavily favor Fluffy in that fight. So I think there's not really much doubt of him winning. But obviously it's the UFC. Anything could happen. I did not think Brendan Allen would beat RDR at all, especially that dominantly. So, that's my matchmaking. Make Khamzat versus Imavov. Tell me your thoughts on the middleweight division. Thank you guys for watching.